Today is Sunday, March 19th, 2017. I am Mary Kight. I am at VFW Post 201 in Waterbury, Connecticut. The interviewer is Congresswoman Elizabeth Esty, working with Central Connecticut State University. Also present is Sherry Vogt and Greg Palmer. My son is Michael Kight. He served in the U.S. Army. He was killed in Vietnam.
All right then. Well, first, Mary, I want to really thank you so much for your service to so many families. And it was really in part getting to know you and your inspiration that had me realize that the Veterans History Project has not included Gold Star families. And it was through knowing you that it really helped me realize how unfair that was. And that was such a loss to the country. And that Michael's story and your place in that story and in that history is really important for Americans to understand. Right. So, as you may know, it was really because of that I helped introduce this legislation and Senator Blumenthal. And that's why Michael's story and your story are now going to be included in the Library of Congress as part of America's history for our veterans.
I thank you for that.
I want to thank you for that. And this is the first one we've done. And probably going to be one of the very first Gold Star stories to be told in America's library. Which the Library of Congress is really the library of the American people and the history of veterans and families.
Recently, I was in Washington, and we went to the Library of Congress, and I was so impressed.
Isn't
it's
it
so
beautiful?
Oh, what? It's beautiful. I'm very impressed with it.
It is beautiful. All right, then. So we've got a lot to learn about Michael, and then really about you and how you felt about this, because this story is your story as well as his. And so let's talk about a little bit more about Michael. When was he born? Siblings? What birth order was he in? If he's named after someone in your family, and tell us a little bit about.
Well, Michael was my oldest. I have 6 children. Michael has 2 sisters and 3 brothers. He was born not too long after his dad came back from World War II. And of course, he wasn't named after anybody. I had picked his father's name, which would have been Johnny. Then when they handed the baby to me, they asked what's his name. For some reason, I said Michael. And
did that surprise you that you said Michael? Yes,
and my husband looked at me like, what? Because he was expecting John. But for some reason, I don't know why, I looked at him and I thought Michael. And it fit him. It really, fit him. At the end, I thought Michael the Archangel. But that's as far as my children.
And when he decided to enlist, he was young too, right?
Yes, he was still in high school. He went to Caner Tech. He was studying mechanics. And his dad used to tell him stories about the infantry during World War II. His dad was in the Battle of the Bulge, and Michael knew that he was going to be drafted because there was draft going on there. And he thought he didn't want to be in the infantry.
He heard enough stories from your husband.
He did. So he thought he wanted to pick out something connected with mechanics. And he always wanted to fly a plane, whatever. So he enlisted in the delayed program. So when he graduated in June, he had until December to go in, and he picked up helicopters. And that's what he did.
Now, how did you feel about that, knowing, he would have been drafted, so you had to...
Yes, well, I knew he would go one way or the other, so I was glad that he got what he wanted. And he did. He got fixed wings, and he got the helicopter. And he had a high school sweetheart all through school, and while he was in basic training, right after, he got married down in Texas.
Oh, my goodness.
And his wife, Joanne, lived with us while he was in the service. And I just felt like if he had to go, I was glad that he was able to pick out something. And he figured when he came out, he would have some kind of a training, like he thought Sikorsky or something, so That's why, I mean, I didn't want him to go, but I knew he had to go, so I was happy he got what he wanted.
And so when he, once he went in, how did he stay in touch with you? I think some part of this is to put on record because we're in an era right now where people text from all over the world and call. But what was it like when once he enlisted?
Well, like I said, his wife lived with us, so while he was in basic training and while he was doing all that, before he went overseas, he would write to her or he would call us. When he wrote, he would include us in the letters and things like that. Then when he went overseas, we had decided he had a little, like a little tape player, and we would send him the little
cassette tapes?
Little cassette tapes. And everybody in the family would include a little something that they had done, and he would send it back. So that's how we kept in touch. It wasn't like today, but still it was through the little cassettes.
Did you keep any of
Yes,
those?
I did. I kept all our cassettes. And one day my other son said he's going to put it on regular DVDs or whatever. I'm not up to this modern stuff, but yeah, so that was how we kept in touch.
But that was very cutting edge, actually, at the time to do.
Yes, and it was nice because everybody got to say something every time we made it. You know, his little brother was only 3 years old.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and you know, he was wanting to know how Joey was doing, and Joey would say a few words, and so he got to talk to everybody or get to hear everybody's story, and we got to hear from him what he was doing. Well, he wouldn't tell us everything he was doing.
Well, he probably couldn't tell you everything, right?
No. In fact, I remember when my husband was overseas in World War II, we would have these little V-mail letters. They would video our letters into small little letters like this, and there'd be a lot of his.
A lot that was redacted.
Yeah, right, exactly. But his cassettes, nobody censored them. So
now, do you think now, looking back, were there more things that he said, given that they weren't screening in the same way? That he told you more things that say would have been possible in World War II than people did?
Yes, I'm sure there was. He would never say anything like that would upset us.
Of course.
You know, but he would tell us, like, you know, what he did and something about his friends, you know, and things like that. But, you know, he didn't have as much to say as we did because there was a bunch of us.
Yes, a big group.
Right.
So did he sent cassettes? Did he ever send tapes? Did he send any, you know, pictures or anything else?
Yeah, he sent pictures often.
Do you have? I know you've got some pictures here, so maybe we can see. Well, I assume this is him when he was little.
Yeah, this is one picture of him. I had of him.
Right, so this is a picture when he went over, and it was a Huey, right?
Yeah, Huey. I thought I had a picture of him so this one of him getting the medal. I thought I had. That wasn't the air medal. The air medal was a different medal that he got, and I have. I'll tell that story in a minute.
But, now, how old was he when he enlisted?
When he enlisted, he was.
Was he 19?
He was 18. 18, right. When he passed away, he just turned 21 the day before, the month before.
Now, how did you feel when you went over? I mean, obviously Vietnam was getting pretty hot at that time. Were you? Well,
you know, the funny thing is,
worried, or did it seem very far away? Or how did that feel? How did that feel for you?
Well, you know, it upset me when I heard he was going overseas. He really did. But you know what? You never think it's going to happen to you. So I never thought it would happen. I just felt like he'll be back before we know it. And I really, truly never thought maybe something would happen to him. So it was quite a shock when it did happen.
Well, and because your husband had come back, and if you think
I think
the Battle of the Bulge, so many people did not, that probably made you think.
Yeah, that could be it. You know, you figure so many went over, why would it be me? And maybe I was in denial. I didn't want to think it.
Mm-hmm. Did you have friends or brothers or sisters who had children who were also going over, or not?
No, I have no brothers or sisters. Okay. My mother died when I was a baby, and my grandparents raised me. But I didn't really. In fact, Michael's friends didn't go in the service till after we lost Michael. The boys that he went through grammar school and high school with, and they both enlisted not too long after that. But no, I didn't know anybody that was in the service before that.
Well, that must have seemed strange then at that point, because you think now during World War One and World War II, everybody went, so everybody knew people who went.
Right.
But if Michael was the only,
it was the only one that I knew of.
that you knew,
You know, I mean, there was a lot of boys. But we lost 30 boys just in Waterbury in Vietnam. So there was other boys. I just didn't know them. I wasn't familiar with them. Right. So
now you were busy with your other children though too at that time.
I had the baby, so he kept me busy. Which he was a little lifesaver after we got the news. You know, because he just baby's kind of.
Because he needed you.
Yes,
right?
yeah, he needed me.
How did, would you want to talk a little bit about what he talked about, what you learned, how much did you learn about his time there while he was there, and then talk a little bit about what you heard, how you heard the news, and then what you learned after.
Well, you did ask me before if he sent anything. His sister Marianne had her birthday March 31st while he was there, and he sent her a beautiful Vietnamese doll, which she still has. Yeah, and but otherwise he didn't really. And then he did send his wife Joanne a bouquet of flowers for their first anniversary. The thing is, she received him the day we received the news, because their anniversary was May 14th, and he passed away May 19th. But the flowers didn't get there till then. But so that was kind of a funny coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So they got married then, just before he shipped out then.
Well, they got married in May. He didn't ship out till February because he was only up over there 3 months.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, but in 3 months he did quite a few rescue missions. And one of them I will talk about in a little while, but I know you still have other questions. Well, you asked me what happened when we heard the news. The day that, it was a Sunday when we got the news that Joanne, his wife, had gone to New York with her girlfriend to spend the day in New York. And when the soldier came to the door, you know, you see a soldier, and he asked to see Joanne, and I said, she's not here. And what is it? And he said, well, I can only speak to Joanne. I said, well, it's about Michael. I'm his mother. Is he hurt? And he said, I can't tell you. And at this time, I'm getting very upset.
Right.
So I said, I'm his mother, and I want to know. And I guess he saw I was getting hysterical. And he said to me, may I use your phone? I said, yes. And I know he had to get permission. And they told him it was all right, you know, to tell us. And I was on my way to church. It was Sunday morning. So, of course, I didn't go to church. And, you know, I just went into shock.
Yeah, you must have.
Yes, you know, I really didn't. Even when I saw the soldier, I was hoping he was going to tell me that he had been wounded or something, but it just was a shock. So, and I know this might sound funny, but just before that, I'm Catholic, and my church had what they call a 9-day novena, and every night I went for 9 days, and I kept praying for God's watch over Michael. I never sent him home safe. I just said, watch over Michael. So when this happened, I got a little disappointed with God. I thought he let me down, you know. But after I thought of it, I thought, well, I just asked God to watch over him. You know, I did. But anyway, you know, you get over it, but you have to be met at somebody.
Well, that's right. And I think that is really, really common. I know you're a deep person of faith. How did you wrestle through that? I mean, did you? Because I know people who left church for a long time after that.
I still went. I just was a little. I was just. I don't know if it was mad or disappointed. You know, he didn't do what I wanted until, like I said, I realized I didn't ask him to send him home. I just said, watch over him, and maybe it was a good reason. Maybe something would have been worse. you know. So, but I didn't give up my faith. I just was very disappointed. And then, you know, you're in shock too. You know, you really are. You're in my children. My daughter Carolyn had a baby. She had it May 10th, which was 9 days before my. So, you know, she came back to the house and stayed with us because her husband was in the service. So we had my little boy and the baby.
And that brand new baby in the house.
Yes. So
Joey, right?
Joey was, yeah. And Carolyn's little girl, Laureen, which, you know, really kept us hopping there for a while. So I was in shock. And I think what finally made me realize, you know, I used to send Michael a package every month.
And what would you send to him?
Things he liked to eat. You know,
and what were those things?
Well, his favorite things, he loved fortune cookies. He really loved them. So
those are hard to pack so they don't get crushed.
Yeah, you know what I imagined with the marshmallows and different things around it. But then one day I went groceries, and I'm doing groceries, and all of a sudden I came to the fortune cookies. And that's when it finally hit me. I saw the fortune cookies, and I thought, I never send him fortune cookies again. And that's when I really came out of the shock and realized he was really gone. So, you know, everybody does it different. I'm sure another Gold Star mother will tell you a different thing that made her realize. But the funny thing, it was the fortune cookies for me. You know, so. But you get through it. You really do. You get through it. And it was hard because at that time, the Vietnam War wasn't very popular. You know, wasn't very favorable. Somebody at his wake actually said to me, well, he was a very good boy, but he shouldn't have been there in the first place.
How did you feel? What did you say? I mean, it's kind of shocking what people say.
I was just going to say, I couldn't even reply because I just, you know, and I guess she had a reason for saying that too. Maybe she felt that it wasn't a right war or something. I don't know. It's just that, you know, so, you know, that's how people felt.
But that certainly must have made it even harder.
It made it hard because then I didn't want to share anything with anybody because I didn't want that reaction. So, you know, just my family was my comfort. And I decided to join the VFW one day. I thought, well, you know, some people I knew were in there, and they asked me to join. And every year they give a luncheon for Gold Star parents. And I was there, and a Gold Star mother came up to me. I didn't know what a Gold Star mother was.
And how?
I never heard of the Gold Star mother.
Well, and how old were you at that point? Because you were young, right?
About 35, I think. I'm not sure. But, well, let's see, from 1929 to 1968 or 69 when I joined. I probably was, what, 30? 40.
Yeah, late 30s. Yeah. Late 30s, but if you didn't have, as an only child, you didn't know a lot of other people.
No, I never heard anybody mention the Gold Star mother. You know, it wasn't a popular thing. And it wasn't for even after I joined. Well, anyway, she asked me to join, and I thought, oh, well, it sounds like, you know, something I could join because there's other Gold Star mothers, they'll understand. And that was the best thing I ever did. There was Gold Star mothers from World War II, from the Korean War, and just a few from the Vietnam War.
And what did you, what was it like, sort of that community of women who had lost their children?
Oh, it was great because I could talk about Michael. You know, I just was dying to be, I was so proud of him. You know, he's got this medal that the medal was for Air Medal for the V device, and the citation, he got this posthumously. It came after he passed away. And the citation said that when Michael heard that there was helicopters, 3 helicopters down in enemy territory, him and his crew volunteered to go out. And the citation says, under heavy enemy fire and severe weather conditions, it was successful. So, you know, I always feel like there was 7 of them, and there's 7 mothers that weren't Gold Star mothers
because of what
of this. What yes, and I couldn't say this to anybody, but I was able to say this to other people. They had their stories too. It wasn't that I was bragging about Michael. I just had to tell them what he did, and they would share their stories with me, which were just as, just as great. So this was a place that I really was going. And some of the new mothers that came in, one mother in particular, she lost her only child, and she says to me, there was a couple of times I really felt like I want to drive over the cliff. I had nothing to live for. And then she would say, but I came to the meetings and these women can do it, I can do it. So it helps if you can really talk to others that understand. People would say, well, I know what you're going through, but if they didn't know it. But these people, if they said it, I knew that they knew what, how I felt. So this organization is really a blessing, and I'm really worried about it now.
Well, can you talk a little bit, because you're currently president, I know, of
I've been for 13 years.
For 13 years.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a good thing if we don't have young men and women being killed in service, but what are your concerns about that? Obviously, it was a lifesaver for you.
It was a lifesaver for me because, we didn't have community to help us. But now these new mothers, and it's good. The community knows that these mothers have lost somebody, and they're with them. They have the Tree of Honor. They have the Wall of Honors in Hartford. They have all these different things. Some mothers have parks named after the streets named after. So they don't feel like they really need the Gold Star mothers anymore. And it's breaking my heart because this is since World War I. I mean, Woodrow Wilson started this when he kept seeing these gold stars in the window, and he felt bad for these mothers. And he started this, calling us Gold Star mothers. So it's been going on for years. And we have a meeting, maybe 5 or 6 will show up. And some of them just don't want to bother. And one of them said, well, I don't like to volunteer. Well, it's not a volunteering thing. If you want to, that's great if you want to, but it's really a support group. That's really what it started out for. And I feel bad when I think that if I pass away, I can't get anybody to be a Gold Star president. And what's going to happen? It just, it worries me. It really does.
Well, maybe that's something that you and I can put our heads together and think about, whether there's a way to call more attention, to have a big group of people to at least make a presentation. You could maybe tell this story about, because not every community may be supportive, not every family may be supportive, and I will never know. You're helping to share for America what it meant to you and how hard it was, but there's a special bond that you have with Gold Star families that I know you're passionate about, making sure there's no parent who doesn't have that opportunity.
Right. Well, that's what I feel like. There has to be somebody maybe that's going to need us, and we're not there.
Somebody's not there.
And it's just, and because when I joined, my goodness, the hall was full. Like I said, there was World War II, Korean. There'd be at least 30, 40 members there, and all of a sudden it's down to 5. And when I try to get new mothers in, they say, well, I'm busy working, or so we were busy too, but we only meet 4 times a year. So there's 52 days, Saturdays a year. So what's 4, what I mean? What's 4, but anyway, and it just, I wish, well, in fact, Commissioner Connolly's wife, Carol, when I was telling her this, she says, she found out we were having our Christmas party at the commissioner's house, and she says, well, we're going to give it. We're going to invite all the Gold Star mothers. Well, you know how many showed up? I think there was 6 or 7. And it's 40 Gold Star mothers?
There's 65 Gold Star families in Connecticut. How did you end up becoming the president for Connecticut? How did that happen?
Well, there was another Vietnam mother that was a president for a few years, and there was another few years. And then when this last one became ill, they asked me to step in for her. Well, once I stepped in, that was it.
You don't know how to say no, Mary. I think that's the issue.
Well, you know what? The alternative.
It's a calling. You don't want to let it die.
And I love doing it. I mean, now I volunteer for so many things that I enjoy doing. I feel like I'm doing it for Michael. When I go to the schools and talk about Gold Star mothers, I feel like they're fifth graders, but they understand what I'm telling them, because when they ask questions, I know they get what it's all about.
So what do you find that the fifth graders ask you about?
Well, they'll ask me. Well, they'll say, "Did you cry?"
The kids are very direct.
That's it, And I said, well, I was very sad, One little girl said, well, where is he buried? I can bring him flowers. So, and it's different. And then another wanted to know, what happened to the helicopter. The boys mostly wanted to know what happened to the helicopter. And then when I go in to talk to veterans, they know what it's all about. So I just tell them Michael's story. And then, but I do all this with maybe the VFWs or the Waterbury Veterans Committee. Mm-hmm. So it's not a solo. I don't know if I could do it by myself, just walk in and do that. Mm-hmm. But they're my support group, and I enjoy doing things with the Waterbury Veterans Committee. They're so dedicated.
Well, they certainly are.
They are. And then
the Gold Star is like a sub-family within this bigger Waterbury veteran veteran supportive community.
And then like the convalescent home, we go in at Christmas time and bring gifts to the ones in Prospect, the veterans in Prospect. Mm-hmm. I go with the VFW. When I go to the West Haven, I go with the VFW. But I mean, I'm doing it for Michael, but I've got support with me, mm-hmm. And then there's a helicopter. The VFW in Prospect have Michael's name, and that I try to get involved with that. Now I want them to paint it. So
it does need painting.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Right. And I don't know how many calls I made, but I finally found out from Mr. Bob Bailey from Groton, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. where we could get the paint, and he gave me the name of the paint and everything, and we could get it at Sherman-Williams. They have it, but they have a special paint, a special name. So now I'm trying to get volunteers to do it.
Well, maybe that's something we could also look with, maybe the Boy Scouts or Eagle Scouts or something.
Yeah, I even thought maybe the National Guard.
Or the National Guard. Well, we can.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there'd be a lot of people that want to do it.
I'm sure there would be people who would want to.
But we just got to get them going to do it, Right. And because we were told that if it's not taken care of, they could take that helicopter back.
Right. No, and I know that because other VFW posts are desirous of having one and say, well, Prospect has one. So yes, well, let's work on getting them.
Yes, exactly.
So with the activities that you do with the Gold Star families, how has that changed over time? Can you talk a little bit, because you've been involved now for a long time. How has that changed? Are there different things that you do now, or? Oh yeah,
all those volunteer things I would have never done before. I was just a home mom. I mean, that's all. I just took care of my kids. And even when I joined the VFW, I thought, well, I'm not a joiner, but then these were friends of mine, and I thought, well, I'm with friends. And it just led from one thing to another, and I really enjoy doing it. I really do.
Well, I don't go to anything that you're not at, so I know you must go to everything.
Well, I try. I really do. But I have to tell you, about 30 years ago, hardly anybody knew what a Gold Star mother was. I know I was in the Waterbury Parade one time, and I had my uniform on, and somebody asked me what bakery I was from.
What?
I didn't know what a Gold Star mother was, and even today, but it's more, what's the word, more
recognized.
Outside. Yeah, it's more recognized now.
Maybe you can talk about how for the, if you were involved with the statue, with the sculpture.
Yeah, well, that was the Waterbury Veterans Memorial Committee guy.
Talk about that, because people who are watching this as part of the nation's history, Waterbury, Connecticut is home to many veterans, has a proud tradition, a very active veterans commission, and is one of the few places, if not the only place in the country, with a Gold Star mother.
No, that's quite. That's a.
Are there other?
Yes.
We have one. What was so? Talk about any involvement you have with that. How that came about.
Well,
for the statue for Gold Star mothers.
I found out there was a statue in New Hampshire, and they were bringing the statue from. I don't know where the sculpture was from, Ohio or someplace, but it was coming through Bristol. So they were going to stop at I think it was the gym or someplace in Bristol. And so the Gold Star Mothers, we went so that we could see the statue.
And do you remember when that was?
No.
But obviously, well before.
Yeah, it was before anybody even thought about getting one in water. When I came back, I went to I went to Waterbury Veterans Memorial Committee.
So maybe you can show what that to the Memorial Committee to suggest to them they think about doing.
Yes.
So this is.
Well, I was telling them how I went and welcomed the Gold Star Mother statue in Bristol. And Doc said, well, we should have one in Waterbury. And I thought, well, that would be nice. So they went to work. As soon as somebody suggested it, they went to work. They start raising money.
Right.
And let me tell you, it was an expensive project. And then we had the statue, and it's a beautiful statue, and it's up in City Hall. As soon as you walk in the door, you see it.
Right up to the top of the stairs. Right there in the middle.
Last October, Congressman John Larson called me, and he said they're unveiling a Gold Star statue in Maryland at the Aberdeen Proving Grounds.
At the Proving Ground.
And I'd like you to come with me. Well, I wasn't feeling too like I wanted to go far away without family or something.
Sure.
I told him I just didn't care about going, but I appreciated him asking me. But I mentioned somebody else that might go. So he went, and then for Christmas, he invited the Gold Star Mothers to a party he was having at the Hartford Club, and he gave each of us that were there was about 6 of us there. He gave each of us a little statue. Now, this Gold Star Mother is different. She's sitting down, and she's holding her son's dog tags in her hand. And it's placed in front of the Aberdeen grounds at the entrance.
Right.
And she's sitting at a bench facing facing it to the grounds. Right. And there's half a star in the ground called the falling star. So anyway, so there is other statues. Like I mentioned, there's one in New Hampshire. That's the first one I saw. And then ours, and then this one. But this one is entirely different. Like I said, she's not standing. She's standing.
Well, hopefully, I know Plainville, not too far away, right next to New Britain, is going to be dedicating a statue in May. So maybe
a Gold Star Mother one?
A Gold Star Mother one.
Oh, really?
A Gold Star Family one. So maybe I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that. That'll be close by. So.
Right. That's
hopefully the snow will be off the ground by then.
Yes. Well, but there's a lot of things that. They're remembering some of these veterans now. The one that did the helicopter, he was a Vietnam veteran, Leo Fortier, and he came back, changed. I think all the boys did. And he used to say to me, that was the VFW I belonged to, and he would say to me, I don't know why I came back. I feel so guilty that I came back and so many didn't. So then one day he came up to me and he said, Mary, what do you think of having a helicopter dedicated to Michael? Well, of course, that I was so proud of that. And I said, that would be great. And he said, we're going to do it. And he got it going, and he really did. He got it there, and so I'm kind of glad that... Now, he said, this isn't just in memory of Michael. We're putting Michael's name, but this is for all the boys that didn't come home. And there's a plaque there that says the same thing. So, and it's nice because people going by see it because it looks like it's just ready to land.
It does. It does. Right there as you're driving by, you can see that.
Right.
Well, speaking of helicopters, you want to show us you got a chance to go up in one of these Hueys, didn't you?
Yes,
a couple of years ago. So you
it was a year ago just about this time. Well, it was a warmer summer. But I had gone with Sam Beeman, a friend of mine, the day before to the Air Museum there, because it was the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam.
Exactly.
And I was by a Huey helicopter, and Sam says, "This is what Mike flew."
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Oh, that's nice." So a woman heard me, and she said, "Tomorrow we're going to be flying people in a Huey helicopter that we flew down from Pennsylvania. Would you like to go up?" And I said, "I don't know." So she said, "Well, if you're there tomorrow, come over." And I knew I was going to be there the next day. I went with somebody else. So sure enough, we went up in the helicopter. Now I don't know. After the third floor, I don't want to look down from a balcony.
So you got a little bit of fear of heights, but
yeah.
But what made you decide to go up in it?
Well, I said if Michael could do it, I'm going to do it. So of course the thing is, I thought they were going to close all the doors.
Oh, so they left the door. You got the full experience with the doors open.
I could have put my foot out and it would have been right out of the helicopter. So that wasn't too thrilling. When they started, I'm going, "Hey, you didn't shut the door." But anyway, so I peeked a little bit with one eye, and then I thought, "Oh, I can do this." And I had Michael's dog tags, so I'm holding on to his dog tags, and I'm saying, Mommy's up here." So anyway,
I can see that you've got the dog tags. You can see right here.
Yes, and you know what? I really enjoyed it. Then when I came down, my girlfriend says to me, "Get in front, we'll take a picture." So she took a picture, and I looked, and I said, "Oh my God!" Last picture.
Look at this.
The last picture Michael sent home was the same warrior, and he was in the warrior, unit.
Yeah, in the warrior.
So to me, that was.
You were meant to be up in that.
I'm just going to say, I don't think it was a coincidence. It just meant it because nobody could have paid me if I knew that helicopter's door was going to be open.
Sometimes a little bit of ignorance is a good thing.
In that case, it was because I did enjoy it. Yeah, that was really a good highlight.
Well, I'm looking at some of these other pictures here. I think this is one from the dedication.
Yeah, those are all the Gold Star mothers. Some are in white uniform and some are not. Mm-hmm. For some reason, a lot of them don't want to wear white. And one of the mothers, I don't know where, this one here, she lost her daughter. This is Eileen Avery. She lost her daughter, and she said, "I'm going to wear white because my daughter was proud of her uniform, and I'm proud to wear mine." So that's what I tell the mothers, but some of them say, "No, I don't want to wear uniform. I don't want to wear that." So that, yeah.
Oh, I see. We also have here this the Gold Star family license plate, right?
Yes. And Joe Nolan really campaigned for that.
Exactly. Well,
both him and I went to Hartford several times for that.
Exactly. Well, and
these are Gold Star mothers there
Joe campaigned, with me and brought to my attention Gold Star fathers, so that it's now expanded beyond mothers to really recognize families who lost.
That's the dinners that they used to give in Waterbury, Memorial Day and Veterans Day, were Gold Star mothers. But over the years, I said, you know what? It's mostly families now.
Right.
So I said, let's call it Gold Star Families. And they said, well, that's fine with us, whatever. So that's what we call it, Gold Star Families, because there's a lot of brothers and sisters now carrying on. Mm-hmm. When I'm gone, I hope my son and daughters will carry on for Michael. So I think it's only fair that, they include the families, and they should include fathers especially. I really, they feel it just as bad as we. And Joe had a hard time because, he was raising his daughter, his sons by himself at that time, So he's right to be included, I feel.
Well, and you were right to see that, need and how important that it's.
Right.
Not just the mothers who were feeling that loss.
I don't know why Woodrow Wilson just decided to say Gold Star mothers, but maybe, I don't know. It just, who knows exactly. I'm just glad he did it, So, and when I go to the schools, I try to bring the little flags that were in the windows to explain to the children the blue means somebody's
in service.
Yeah, and sometimes there's more than one blue star. If you remember, during World War II, there was one with 5 blue stars. there's a movie, The Sullivan Brothers,
Exactly.
and they all went down with the ship. And since then, I heard that they
will not
No.
allow all
right.
the children.
Right.
And that was actually something that the Saving Private Ryan story was around that, when
Was
they
it?
realized they didn't want to have any family lose all their children,
Right.
lose all their
Right.
sons. And
Right.
so the military changed its policies about.
In fact, after we lost Michael, I had a son, Johnny, that turned 18, and he got his draft card. And I went down to the draft board, and I said, I just lost my son.
Mhm.
And they said, do you have other sons? I said, yes, 2. One's a baby. He said, well, it doesn't make any difference. But for some reason, Johnny didn't get drafted, so I don't know if my being down there was anything or not. But
What year was that he turned 18? Do you remember?
he was born in 1950, so that was 1968. Yeah, it was the following
Well,
year.
that's pretty surprising. Then maybe
Yeah,
that would be interesting to know if they just removed his name, or if he just got such a
maybe he just didn't get drafted.
a high number that
Right,
he didn't get drafted.
Right. But like I said, I said, oh no, I'm not sending another one.
So that was pretty clear that you were not going to lose him.
No, nothing. I said, I didn't think anything would happen to Michael, but since it did,
Since you
I didn't want to, repeat. So, and I just got upset when he said to me, well, you have other sons at home. And I thought, well, I don't want to lose another one just because I've got others at home.
Well, how did that make you feel? I mean, I would be pretty outraged if it's like, oh, you've got another one, a spare.
Exactly. That's it. You got spares at home, but, I cried, but maybe I softened him up or something, but I was glad that Johnny didn't have to go. My son Johnny wouldn't have gone. He said to me, Ma, I'm not going.
Is that right?
Yeah, he really, he worshipped his brother. They're very close. And I don't think he believed in the war, because he was in that era, where but I don't know if he got drafted, if he would have really followed his thoughts, but I'm glad I didn't have to.
It was good that you didn't have
Yeah.
to. You and he did not have to make that.
Exactly. So like I said, that was a very unusual war. It really was. Even sometimes I wonder, if I get mad when somebody said, well, that was useless and those boys died for nothing, but they didn't die for nothing. They died for what they believed in.
And I'll give you an example right now. There's a young woman who was elected to Congress from Florida, whose mother is Vietnamese, and I meet now, and my children are in school with sons and daughters who came out of Vietnam, who were part of that those rescue operations, and their families feel very strongly.
Yeah, exactly.
Are very grateful to the United States,
right.
And I think that's something that we're beginning to look at that war, I hope, differently now, and realize that there actually is a lot of gratitude.
Right. Well, that's even like during World War II, the Germans and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the Japanese had a rough time. We had a family living upstairs over us. He had a restaurant in San Francisco, and when the war broke out, his family and him had to go to Arizona.
Right, they had to go to one of the internment camps.
Yes, and he lost everything. I mean, and that's terrible. I mean, these people were innocent people, but that was a different kind of war, than this one here. I heard that about 10 years ago they started reimbursing them, but those people are gone. I guess their family got something out of it. But I didn't mean to bring up another war, but I just meant every war is different, is what I'm trying to get at.
Is that something that you feel like you got a different appreciation for by your involvement through Gold Star Mothers and through the Veterans Committee over what you knew as a girl growing up and married, young and children and all of that? Did that change your understanding of war that way?
Well, I married my husband when he was in the service. He was from Georgia and he was stationed up in Massachusetts.
Oh, is that how you met?
Yeah, well, I went to a little school in Woolcott. Now it's the police station, the school I graduated from, but it was a 2-room school. So you knew everybody. So when the boys went in the service, even though they were older than me, we used to write letters. Mm-hmm. And So my husband saw the picture of one of the boys from school.
You caught his attention from the
Yes, I
picture.
did. Yes, I did. And so he started writing to me, and I started writing back, and then I met him, and that was funny. That's why he's from Georgia, you know. Otherwise, I would have never met him. But that's...
Well, the military can bring people together.
Yes, exactly, yes. So every once in a while I used to call him a rebel, or he'd call me a Yankee, you know. But we celebrate our 50th anniversary. A few months later he passed away. He was very sick. He had cancer, but it was a good marriage, even though, you know, most of it was writing, but it was a good marriage. I have nice memories, and him and Michael were very close. They were... Yes. So, anyway,
Other things that you wanted, I know you would wanted to read this poem. Do you want to?
Well, first of all, I did receive a letter from Richard Nixon, which I thought was very nice. This was 1971. It was for the American Gold Star mothers have earned their nation's deepest admiration and respect. The courageous way with which you have endured the greatest personal sacrifices, only to be strengthened in your love of country and of its heritage, gives us each of us something to think about. Your son with unfinished work you have so willingly accepted as your own would be intensely proud of you, just as the nation is proud of them. No words, however eloquent, could fully capture the qualities of heart that characteristic the purpose of your organization and so significantly advances the cause of peace, freedom in the world. And Richard Nixon. I just thought that was a nice...
That is, to recognize.
Yeah,
that.
I just, you know, I was kind of proud of that.
Absolutely. And you said, there, I know you brought some other things here, so I want to make sure that we have a chance to...
Well,
this is your story and Michael's
first
story.
First of all, I have to tell you, Michael wasn't shot down. Excuse me just a minute, I have my sinuses. I didn't know this.
When did you learn what actually happened?
I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah.
They were going out onto a rescue mission, and they go in formation. Well, the one that was up above Michael, he told me this 30 years later. He thought that the one behind him was too close, and he turned around and he said, I had my hand on the stick, whichever that is. And it went down into Michael's rotary blades. And so the plane crashed, so that's what happened. But I didn't know anything about this, so about 30 years later, he sent me a letter, and he apologized for taking so long. He's from Massachusetts, and in fact, he was in Michael's wedding, him and his wife. So they were close. He came to me, he said he wanted to come and visit me. He says, I have something to tell you, and I never feel better unless I come and talk to you. So, of course, I'd love to have him come. And he came with his wife, and he told me what happened. He said, I can't forgive myself. And I said, well, it was a war, things happen, you know. It was an accident. And his wife says, you know, this is going to make him feel so much better. He has to get it off his chest. And he said, there was no fire, which I was glad, because nobody told me anything, just that it was a crash. And so anyway, he said, I need to go to Michael's grave. I have to ask his forgiveness. So I took him up to Calvary Cemetery, and he knelt there and just cried. And I cried, and his wife cried. But anyway, afterwards, his wife said that did him a lot of good. He just had to get that off his conscience. So Michael didn't get a Purple Heart because they put pilot error, and I feel upset about that because it feels like it was Michael's error, but it wasn't.
Right.
I wish I could fix that, but you can't fix it. I guess it's government things, you know. But anyway, so he felt better about confessing.
Did did that open up things for you? Because that could be either very painful, or did you feel like you needed that he? I mean, he was asking your forgiveness, right?
Yeah. Well, I told him. I said it was war, and things happen in war, and I'm sure
he certainly didn't intend. But
he said it was just a second. I turned to see how close he was, and I guess the movement made the stick. I guess it controls whatever it does, and he went into the rotary blades.
But after 30 years, how did that make you feel? Did it
well,
open that up again?
Yeah, it did, but I was glad because in my mind I would see these war pictures and the
flames.
And and Michael's coffin was sealed. Mm-hmm. So I really didn't know what condition it was. Somebody, my daughter-in-law, Joey, Mike's wife, her brother-in-law went to meet it at Hartford, Bradley, and he saw the inside there, So I never got to see Michael. So in my mind, I didn't know what to picture. So at least I felt like it was instant, and and that kind of helped. But this is another story. Mm-hmm. This boy, like I said, wasn't feeling good that day, and he was Michael's door gunner. Mm-hmm. He was one that sat at the door.
Because Michael was a co-pilot.
He was the pilot.
He was the pilot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so when he come home, he was really messed up. Mm-hmm. He got into drugs and alcoholic. He was really bad. So finally, I guess, when his wife left him, he decided to go for help. And
he was not there. He wasn't there that day.
He wasn't there. But, they're like a family, that crew.
What was the size of the crew? Was it 4 or 5?
Pardon?
How many in the crew?
I think there's 6, I think, 5 or 6. And so anyway, he went for help finally. And she said to him, "Why don't you write down your thoughts?" So he did. And when he wrote them down, he sent them to me. Mm-hmm. And may I read this to you?
Of course, please.
Dedicated to Michael A. Kight of Waterbury, Connecticut, who lost his life in Sac Tran, Vietnam, May 19, 1967. I don't know if I should read his name or not, but he gave me permission to do anything I wanted with this.
Well, it's part of the country's history, as you feel fit, as you see fit.
Well, his name was Bernard Goodian, and he wrote this January 1997. Seated harness in my seat with my flight helmet on, we were going on a mission just south of Saigon. I prayed before each flight. I would say a private prayer. I know I said a lot of them for the time that I was there. I would close my eyes and pray at night. Sometimes I even cried. I saw my friend just yesterday. Today I learned he died. There was an awful lot of friends the Lord up there did call. If you have reason not to believe me, go down and read the wall. There comes a time I thought my time had come. I prayed I would go to heaven and maybe join some friends of mine for that year of 1967. The soldiers who served in Vietnam, we know were heroes all unsung. Most of the ones who lost their lives were so very, very young. The ones who sent us over there to play the Savior's role, which one of them was keeping track of the U.S. high death toll? It seems I go to Nam a lot at night in my dreams. Why does a year last a lifetime, or just so it seems? To waken at night in a cold, lonely sweat, matching soldiers' names to faces of those Vietnam vets. The soldiers that we lost there, I hope went to heaven. Let the ones who came back say a prayer for them in this year of 97. I think that's so beautiful. I just love reading this because it tells you what this boy feels, about the war and his friends that he left behind.
Well, you hope he's finding some peace now.
I heard that he's doing much better. Every once in a while, I hear from him.
Do you?
Yeah. So
Well, you might want to let him know that he might.
I tell him. But every year, May 19th, the VFW has a remembrance of Michael at their post, and Sam Beeman usually reads this. He reads this when we go to some of the schools sometimes. Mm-hmm. So this really has gotten around. And I had extra copies, so you could have this copy.
Oh, thank you. I would be honored to have that, and that really eloquently sort of brings
Yeah,
home with that.
it just makes me feel like, you know, he told it what his feelings were. And I'm sure a lot of veterans feel the same. I know Leo Fortier that started the helicopter, that's how he felt, you know. He didn't want people to forget what those that didn't come back. That was his main people. He said, when they go by and they see that helicopter, I want them to realize what it stands for. So.
And do you really feel, I know that the Gold Star Families has not only helped you, but also is a reminder
Right.
to the country. I mean,
Right.
Are you concerned that if it doesn't continue, that the country maybe isn't remembering the way that it should?
Yeah, I just don't want to see it dissolve. We get a magazine every 2 months from Washington, the Gold Star National, Washington, D.C. And I see pictures of, you know, different states that they have a bunch of mothers, and I don't know why, you know, we don't seem to have that same response. You know, it's not anything, you know, it's not anything that people say, well, gee, I don't like what they do, because we don't do anything that people would dislike.
Right.
And if they don't want to volunteer, that's up to them. It's just that, you know, if you want to go, we'll say, you know, just write your name and we'll go. And if you don't want to go, you don't want to go. You know, and a few years back, one of the Gold Star mothers, Debbie Smith, she had a motorcycle drive.
Mm-hmm.
And we really all got into that. And, you know, and that was fun.
Did you go on that?
I rode in the truck with the flags.
I didn't know if they put you in a sidecar.
No, I took a picture on the motorcycle, but I didn't.
You didn't ride?
No, one of the Patriot guys said, come on, you'll ride with me. I said, no, I'm going to ride in the truck. I don't know if you know, they call him Mad Dog. Yeah, it was his truck.
It was his truck.
Yeah, and so, but he took a picture of me on a motorcycle, so everybody will see it. They'll say, "You rode that?" I said, "No, I didn't ride it. I just took a picture on it." But that was nice.
It proudly.
Yeah, but that was fun, and I didn't realize all the things that go in making a run, because we had to go to the different cities, like Litchfield, and ask if we could ride through there because it was on a Sunday. You had to have police at different stops.
Oh, yes, you do.
And, you know, it wasn't just getting on the motorcycle, you know, but it was a good fundraiser, and it was fun. We enjoyed it, yeah. One of my sons rides a motorcycle. So, you know, I've been on one for a little distance. But and say, Mom, come on, I won't go far. And I'll say, you better not. Anyway. And then I bought a little thing that one of the different children had sent. You know, once I went to visit the schools.
Oh, I can see they've got gold stars.
Yes.
Like this. They put the gold stars on the flags.
And then they wrote a letter.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it makes you feel good. This is supposed to be the wall, I think.
Oh, that makes sense. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that was.
So I mean, you know, the children really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Laura, it's from 2003.
Yeah.
Writing from Manchester, Connecticut, and she said she lost a father in World War II.
Yeah,
so you
see?
think about how, for this young girl, how that helped her.
And then this is a Caner Tech.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Michael was at Caner, right? And I know you and Sam Beeman have become good friends through here, but both of you, but he and Michael were both, right, at Caner?
Right.
So you have kind of an extended family now, right?
Yeah. He calls me Ma sometimes, you know. And I'll say, "Well, where are you on Mother's Day?" You know. So you know, but you joke along. Even Ma'am John calls me. I never call him that. I call him John, and I just don't like that name.
I can understand that.
In fact, Congressman Larson kids him about it. He said, "Mary doesn't like me to call you that." But anyway, so I made so many friends. I really did. I made so many friends that through different organizations and through that I would have never, you know, met these people. And I haven't met anybody I didn't like. No, really and truly. I just, everybody I met, I just loved them. And I owe it all to them for what I did, because, like I said, either they went with me or they told me how to do it or what to do, they're all connected with me. Let's put it that way.
Well, but that's such a beautiful thing for people to know who watch this about. It was there for you because you needed in your grief,
right?
Oh, needed
I did
to do something, and this has then become
that was
part of your calling and
was.
part of your extended family and
even my family I wouldn't get comfort from because they were grieving also.
Because they were grieving.
And
so what would you tell Gold Star families that you have learned now with your years of doing this about how to think about this, where to find support and.
Well, whenever a boy dies, in the service, or a girl, I shouldn't leave just boys. If I can, I'll go to the wake and I'll tell the mother, I'm a Gold Star mother. I know what you're going through. If you need to talk, I'm here for you, and I'll give them my little card. I don't want to push them. They have to do it voluntarily, but they know that I'm there. And I've had them call me. One mother called me and said, "Am I ever going to stop crying?" And I said, "You will, eventually, But so just a lifeline, or a telephone call can help. I mean, that's what we're there for. And like I said, I don't want to push anybody into it because but if they know I'm there, and if they want to reach out, I'm going to be there for them. And so to me, it was really a lifesaver. It really was. I just felt so much better after I cried, told my story, and then somebody else told her story, and different ones would tell about their stories to make me feel good, to know that, this is what I went through.
That you're not alone.
Yes, this is what I went through, and I'm here, and you'll be like this in a few years. You'll finally laugh, and, sometimes you think, I'll never be able to laugh again. You almost feel guilty if you laugh, like, but the Gold Star Mothers really was a help to me. It really, really was. And that's why I just don't want to see it. I don't care if I have to be present when they're burying me, but I don't want that.
You're not going to let go.
No, I'm not going to let go. I want somebody to do it and do it right. It's not a big thing either. I mean, we have the books telling us each step, like you roll call, a regular business thing. But that's nothing hard to do. The only thing that's hard is that, you're supposed to go around a lot. But if it wasn't for my daughter Marianne, I wouldn't go to half of these places because I'm 88 years old. I'm not going to drive.
88 years young.
Yeah, okay, 88 years young. That sounds better. But I won't go someplace if I don't know, because I keep my eye on the road. I can't look for signs and, like somebody will say, well, it's right past the CVS, whatever. I just want to know where I'm going, and that's it. So Marianne is my chauffeur. If I know where I'm going, like today, I know just how to get here in different other places. But that's the only hard part about being the president is you need to be out there in the public. And
did you ever think you would? So you have to speak publicly a lot now.
I know.
Did you ever? I'll bet you never thought when you were, a young mother, you were a young girl growing up. But face it, that wasn't something women did, right? Women didn't do that.
No.
So you just have learned to do it because it's what needs to get done, right?
Yeah, and that's it. Somebody's got to do it. And the first couple of times I did, I know I didn't say too much, but little by little I've been adding on, and now I feel comfortable doing it. I just feel like, well, if I don't do it, who's going to do it?
Exactly. That's
the whole thing. Who's going to do it? And when I say, like, we had a meeting in March, and now it's June, we're going to have a convention. It's a small convention. And I said, somebody's got to think about being president. And they'll say, well, you do it so good. And I know that's just a way of saying they don't want to do it, So I said, well, you'll do it just as good. So and
you can also let them know that you didn't do it that well when you started.
That's what I tell them.
Everybody's got a learning curve.
Exactly. That's what I said. And I'm here, if to help you. One mother did try it. Debbie Smith, she tried it for a year, but that was it. She said, no, I can't do it. She said, I'm busy working. What she does, she works in the bank, and I guess she's got hours. She said, for instance, there's a funeral on Tuesday morning, she can't take off to go. So I could see her point. And the mothers, I guess, are more busy now than they were when I first started. Most of the mothers all work now,
Well, that's why if you expand it to mothers and fathers, maybe between the two.
Right. So, but I just don't want it to fall along the way. I really don't. It would break my heart. Yeah. It really would, because it was a good organization.
It is a good organization.
It is. It is. But I mean, had good reasons to be there. It's not like some places it's just a good time. This had a purpose. That's the word I was trying to think of.
And the purpose is still there, I think.
Yes, it's there, but I want them to be able to use it, or it's not going to be there. Now, say for instance I pass away and there's no president, what's going to happen?
Well, hopefully people
I'll come back and haunt them.
Oh, maybe we leave it with that. They better step up.
No, because that's how strong I feel about it.
I mean,
it helped me so much. I looked forward to the meetings and talking, and then we'd have a little coffee. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there was a couple of years that mother lived in Trumbull, and she was the president, but she couldn't travel. So we'd go over there and we'd bring potluck, and we'd have lunch there and do business, and it was just such a nice, friendly atmosphere. We really enjoyed. We loved each other. I really do. I miss the mother. We had a meeting March, Gold Star, and we had it at Tony's restaurant, past, I think it's Southington.
Right.
Tony's. Anyway, and so we're eating lunch there. There was 5 of us. And this man came in, and he had a veteran's hat on. And he said, I saw the cars out there with all the Gold Star plates. And now they recognize the plates.
Right.
And they know what they are. And he says, I was a friend of Clement Dupree. Now, Margaret Dupree was a Gold Star mother from Vietnam, and she passed away 2 years ago. And she was a really loyal Gold Star mother. And he said, her son, Clement, and I used to hang around, so I wanted to come in and say hello to you. And I said, well, I feel like now you brought Margaret's spirit to us here, because she wasn't there, but he came in. And then when we went to pay the bill, him and his group paid our bill, which made him feel good,
And probably made you feel good.
It did too.
Acknowledgement.
Yeah, exactly. Because there was there was 3 men and 3 women in his group. And we went, I said, well, she's not coming with the bill. So Sharon said, well, we'll see.
What's happening.
Yeah. So then she said, oh, he paid the bill. They paid the bill for us. So that was nice. That was, but like I said, I liked it that he knew what the markers were. That was the point of it.
That shows the importance of things like that.
Right.
The license plate and your visits to schools and having the memorial at Kaner Tech and having the statue at
in fact, one time we were driving along with the plates, talking about the plates, and somebody saluted me, and I'm thinking, I didn't have my hat on or anything. Right. But then my daughter says, well, Ma, he saw your plate. And I said, oh, see, so it makes me feel good that they know what that is,
nice.
Yeah, so every little bit, if going out in public, and I think it's important to wear your uniform so that they know.
Well, we've got the rest of your uniform. Maybe we'll hold this up with your jacket with all your various. You want to tell us a little bit about what you've got here?
Well, this is the president's pin. Mm-hmm. This is the goals. This is what they give you when you lose your son or daughter. Mm-hmm. And of course, one's American Legion, the VFW, and the Waterbury Veterans Committee. Mm-hmm. And
always a flag up high.
The flag always goes over
exactly, and on the left.
Right. You can't.
Flag
Oh,
Michael?
my daughter. Oh, no, this is this is Michael.
Right.
My coat had something different. I thought I had that pin on, but this is Michael's. There's a lady in Florida makes these. She's handicapped, and she sends them to Gold Star mothers.
Well, that's part of this
Yeah.
very big extended family. It's not just the Gold Star families
Right.
here around Waterbury, or even the state of Connecticut. But these families all over America.
Yeah, and now they have that traveling wall where a lot of people go there and look up somebody they know.
Is there anything else that you would like
Thank
to? Well, other than like making sure you get a chance to. We've had you talking here for ages. Of other things you think of that you'd like to say, or that America should know, because this is for the history of this country.
Well, this is part of, I don't think any other country has Gold Star mothers, as far as I know. Of course, we're the American Gold Star Mothers Incorporated, so I don't know, maybe there are Gold Star mothers in other countries, but it's just a different group. This is, I can't explain it, but it's just, you bond. As soon as you meet these people, you bond with them. That's why I can't understand. There have been several that have come and joined and then never came back. And, they don't give reasons. I guess they're just not joiners or something. I don't know, but...
But obviously, it's been so important for you and your family, and so many of the lives you've touched through that. And I think the message would be wonderful for people to hear, to know that may be a source of solace and support and friendship, and as you say, joy.
Yeah,
I think that's another important thing to remember too. To find a way forward in life that brings you joy, and that you feel you're honoring Michael by supporting other families, keeping his memory alive and their children's memory alive too.
And say for instance, a friend of mine loses a son or daughter. It doesn't have to be in the war either. I could still help her.
Exactly.
Because losing a son or a daughter, no matter what, everybody has that same feeling. You can't explain it. So I just wish I could just reach out and tell these new mothers, just come. You really will like being with us. We'll help you in some way. I just feel bad that I can't reach them. But what can you do? You can't make them come.
No, but you keep doing what you're doing, which is to make that offer, to put the invitation out every day, which is what you do, and people you hope will come when they're ready and come.
Well, I just hope so, because we do enjoy it when we get together, and there's so many that could. I know some of them don't want to be reminded. I think that's the one thing they don't. Yeah, they just don't want to be reminded, and that's fine. But as the year goes on, little by little, I did have somebody say to me, "I just want to forget about it now. I just go on with my life." Well, it's not like we're going to keep bringing it up. You don't even have to mention if you don't want. I don't know how to respond to that. Right. I want her to go on with her life, but that doesn't mean she needs to forget her. That's how I feel. I don't want to forget my son.
No. Well, you certainly haven't, and I want to thank you for his service, and thank you for your service, because what you've been doing all these years now has so much honored his memory and those of so many other, brave young men and now women who served this country and did not come home. Right. But you provided the kind of tangible, direct support to their parents, to their families, in a way that, as a nation, we say that and we mean that, but just the experience is unfathomable, really, to those of us who have not lost a child in this way. And we're enormously proud of you and grateful for your commitment and your service. Well,
if I just reach one person, I feel like I did okay.
Well, that you've done way more than that.
That's just it. I just want to reach somebody and make them feel better. Like, here I am, and I did it. It's hard, but
you can do it.
You can do it. And I've had mothers say that to me. Well, I think of of you girls, and I know if you did, I could do it, you know.
Well, that's exactly why we need to keep it
Yes,
going.
right. Exactly. I really feel like, you know, we need to get out there and let people know we're here.
Well, you do that
Okay.
on a motorcycle or in the truck.
Or in the helicopter.
Or in the helicopter, yes. Yeah, all modes of transportation work.
I haven't gone on a ship. Yes, I did go on a ship.
All right, so
my
there
son
we go.
Jimmy was in the Navy. He was on the aircraft carrier USS Independence, a station in Norfolk. And we went to visit him, and he brought me through that. But it wasn't on the ocean. It was,
All right.
it was still, you know, still. And he's running down the stairs, and I said, "How the heck's he run down those little narrow stairs?" As, you know, I was holding on for my life because those stairs are so narrow, those little steel stairs. So I'd been up in the air and everybody else.
Full service. Well, again, thank you so much, Mary. And
well, thank you for having me. I appreciate where I had the chance to get out there and say what I feel. Because that's what people have to know. It's not just the Gold Star Mother organization. Who's behind it? The people that we help.
Well, thank you.
That's why I appreciate doing this.
Of course. Well,
Okay,
grateful
thank you so
to
much.
you, and I think yours is going to be one of the first Gold Star Mother stories in the Library of Congress. So we're really proud of you and grateful for you.
Thank you.
And spearheading this effort for
now,
families across America.
Well, so now if I go to the Library of Congress, can I see this? Can I say it, or is it going to be on display, or what?
Well, I've got to find out how they're, you know, when I go to congressional events there, they often have brochures for the Veterans History Project. And when I come up, they're like, "Oh, we know you already do this." They said, "You need to get some of your colleagues to interview veterans in their district." So I have to find out about, next time you're thinking of coming, let me find out, and we can maybe get you in the back rooms and see where they store it. It's the largest library in the world.
Yeah, oh, it's beautiful. It's so impressive.
Only a small portion of things are on display. And I know that part of what they're working on is archiving and trying to figure out how they can preserve all these stories. And of course, it used to be handwritten letters. And then I used to exchange cassette tapes with my parents. So I was part of that cassette era too. And then now DVDs, but obviously it's going to change to other things too. So we want to make sure that they find ways to preserve all the stories. So I want to thank you and Connecticut Central State University, CCSU.
Yes, I do that. Elaine is
wonderful,
so wonderful.
And she's really made it possible for me and my office to do these interviews and make sure as many stories are recorded as possible.
I believe those panels she was responsible for still going around libraries, and that was another thing that, you know, we're out there in libraries for people to see.
Absolutely.
So every little thing that
tells a story
exactly. That you know, that's really, really nice, and I appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna give you a hug because I'm a hugger.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's so special.